Picture a district in India where you could walk for an hour and meet almost no one. Here, in the Bay of Bengal, sits the highest peak in the entire Andaman archipelago. A beach where 4 different species of sea turtle come ashore to nest, wild elephants roaming an island with no permanent human residence, and a 100-year-old community of Burmese origin still living in the forest villages their grandparents cleared. This is North and Middle Andaman, a district built almost entirely within living memory. This is everything you should know about it. North and Middle Andaman is the northernmost district of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, India's union territory, adrift in the Bay of Bengal. Its headquarters, Maya Bandar, is roughly 300 kilometers from Port Blair, a journey of 8 to 10 hours by road or a long overnight ferry, since this is still one of the more remote corners of the country. The district covers around 3,250 square kilometers and is home to just over 1 lakh people, 105,539 according to the 2011 census. That works out to only about 32 people per square kilometer, making it one of the least densely populated districts anywhere in India. It isn't one island but several. North Andaman Island and Middle Andaman Island form the core, joined by bridges and a short ferry crossing, with Interview Island, Long Island and Baratang Island also falling inside its boundary. The terrain is almost entirely forest, dense tropical evergreen hills running down to mangrove creeks and white sand coastline. The district itself is young. It was carved out on the 18th of August 2006, when the old, larger Andaman district was split in two. This became North and Middle Andaman, while the southern half formed its own South Andaman district. Today it's organized into 3 tehsils, Diglipur, Maya Bandar and Rangat, spread across 104 revenue villages. Maya Bandar, the headquarters, is the administrative and market town for the north, sitting on a peninsula between 2 natural creeks. Diglipur, further up the coast and the largest township in the district, is the launch point for most of the district's biggest attractions. Rangat, to the south, is the gateway from Port Blair and the first proper town most visitors reach after the long drive north. This district's history is really the history of who was brought here and why. It begins with the survivors of the 1857 rebellion, mutineers transported to the Andamans as convicts from 1858 onward. Many, once freed, were resettled to clear forest and farm this northern coastline, and the Colonial Forest Department, established in 1883, built an economy here around logging valuable timber like paduk and gurjan for export. That timber trade brought 2 very different communities that still define the district today. In 1925, the British brought Karan families, Christian Burmese origin forest workers from the Basen and Henzada regions of what is now Myanmar to work the timber mills. They settled at Vebi village near Maya Bandar, and their descendants remain one of India's most distinct and least known minority communities, still holding on to their own language and church traditions a century later. Alongside them came the Ranchis, Adivasi laborers from the Chota Nagpur plateau in central India, contracted for the hard work of forest clearance. Then, after independence, came the biggest wave of all. Starting in 1956, thousands of Bengali refugee families displaced by partition were resettled here under a government colonization scheme sent to clear and cultivate what was then one of the most isolated, densely forested parts of the islands. Diglipur in particular was built almost entirely by these settlers. Those settler communities shaped what the district does for a living today. Farming is the backbone. Rice, coconut, areca nut and banana, grown on land the settlers themselves cleared, with the Bengali farmed paddy fields of North Andaman functioning as something like the rice bowl of the islands. Areca nut plantations dot the hillsides, their harvest shipped to the mainland, alongside smaller rubber and oil palm plantings. Fishing is the other pillar. The coastal and creek waters around Maya Bandar and Rangat support a large fishing community, working small boats out of village jetties. While the forests, though far more protected now than in the logging era, still support small-scale timber and non-timber produce like honey and cane. Government service, tourism, and small trade round out the picture in the bigger towns. It's a district that, more than most, still earns its living directly from the land its settlers cleared by hand. One generation removed from the forest itself. Because almost everyone here arrived from somewhere else, the culture is really a map of migration. Bengali is the district's dominant language, spoken as a first language by more than half the population, a legacy of the 1956 resettlement. Hindi and Nicobari's influenced speech are also heard, and in Mayabandar's Karen villages, church services and daily life still carry the sound of Sgaw Karen, brought over from Burma a century ago. Food follows the same story. Bengali-style rice and fish curry is the everyday plate, alongside the fresh coconut and seafood that any island district serves. Festivals lean Bengali too, with Durga Puja drawing the whole district together each year. It's a rare thing in India. An entire district's identity built almost entirely within living memory, from 4 or 5 communities that arrived by ship within the last century and made this forest home. The district's isolation has made it a refuge for wildlife found almost nowhere else. Interview Island, uninhabited and reachable only by permit, is home to a small population of feral elephants, descendants of working elephants brought in for timber hauling and abandoned when logging operations there ended. Now roaming wild and breeding herds and protected as India's largest island wildlife sanctuary since 1985. Saddle Peak, the highest point in the whole Andaman archipelago at 732 meters, shelters 13 endemic bird species, dozens of endemic insects and trees found on no other island, and even powers the region's only hydroelectric plant. For a visitor, Diglipur is the base for the district's biggest draw, Ross and Smith Islands. Twin islets joined by a natural sandbar that appears at low tide, ringed by some of the clearest water in the archipelago, and far quieter than the crowds of Havelock. Close by, Kalipur Beach is one of the few places on Earth where 4 different species of sea turtle come ashore to nest. Further south, near Baratang, a speedboat ride through dense mangrove creeks leads to the limestone caves. And nearby, the low bubbling cones of India's only active mud volcanoes. And rising above it all, Saddle Peak National Park offers the toughest, most rewarding trek in the islands. Forests cleared by convicts, Karen settlers, Ranchi laborers and Bengali refugees. Turned within a single century into one of India's quietest, wildest districts, guarding its highest peak, its feral elephants, and some of the rarest turtle beaches on Earth. That, in short, is North and Middle Andaman. If you're from here, tell us in the comments what we missed. A village, a beach, a story. If you enjoyed this, subscribe and drop the name of your own district below. We just might cover it next. Until then, thank you for watching.